Democrats in the media working overtime to fearmonger over Trump sending in troops to end the wave of violence. This insane talking point that he's turning into a dictator is not only going unchallenged, it's being magnified.
Who doesn't think that Donald Trump would try to employ martial law if he thought it was the only way he could stay in power.
This country may be looking down the barrel of martial law in the middle of an election.
This feels like a planned attack against the American people.
We have to be prepared for things that this nation has never faced before. And unfortunately, that could involve the use of, these forces.
It's almost like some sort of talking point is being circulated out there. Well, here now is Ben Weingarten, senior contributor at The Federalist, columnist at Newsweek, and author of American Ingrate. And Sara Carter, Fox News contributor and host of the Sara Carter Show podcast. So, Sara, as Democrats are saying, President Trump's not going to accept the results of the 2020 election, have Democrats accepted the results of the 2016 election?
I was just going to say that, Lisa, and it's really tragic. The Democrats haven't accepted it since 2016. They're continually trying to remove a duly elected president from office, and they're weaponizing now not just law enforcement, but the people in communities that are drastically suffering from not only the COVID shutdown with their businesses, but also their children, their education systems, complete social injustice that they feel. These Democrats, I call them Marxist socialists, like to rile up the communities against the government. They don't care about the people that they represent. If they cared about the people they represent, they wouldn't want the people in the streets rioting, destroying their property, destroying businesses. And unfortunately, we've seen lives lost. So many lives lost. Children as young as 3 years old in Chicago, teenagers, people injured, like you said, law enforcement officials. They're shameful, actually, and something actually should really be done. I think the president's doing the right thing. I think our federal law enforcement officers are doing the right thing. They are not stormtroopers. And I think we need to move forward as a nation. We need to find a way to unify, but I don't think the left is going to do that.
And Ben, I want to pull up this article from the Wall Street Journal, or I think it was an opinion column, actually, from Barton Swaim, and he argues that this is a classic case of projection. He's right. He wrote this: I mean, no disrespect to my liberal friends when I say, to borrow Mr. Biden's phrase, that I am absolutely convinced that Democrats won't accept the result if the Republican wins. I say this because with only 2 exceptions, liberals have considered every GOP presidential victory in the last half century more or less illegitimate. And that was the exception, I think, since 1968, with the exception of 2, which were 49 state landslides. So I think maybe the left are the ones that aren't accepting the results here. What say you?
I think, first of all, Hillary Clinton herself has clearly not accepted the results of the 2016 election. And the election before the night was over was called illegitimate, and the president was challenged on it. But look, it says everything you need to know about the modern Democratic Party, that restoring the rule of law on our streets is considered a totalitarian act, but anarchy and mob rule and rioting is considered legitimate activity. Also, to your point, which is a great one, the fact of the matter is that it is the left that has been engaging in totalitarian acts since before the president was elected. We haven't even gotten yet to the depths of the weaponization and politicization of the national security and intelligence apparatus, precisely because the left and the media, but I repeat myself, the resistance, have done everything they possibly could to halt the peaceful transition of power, which is the hallmark of our representative democracy, which they love to talk about so much, but they don't actually want to let it function. So I think what this really comes down to is, once again, the left is trying to delegitimize the president again, even before he is potentially reelected, and make it seem as if it's not a real victory and this isn't a real serious president. And then the other thing is, I think it's very clear they think very little of the American people. They think we're stupid. They think that we can't see through the lies and the smears and the innuendo and propaganda. This president has been checked more than any president in our lifetime.
Well, and about that, Sara, so first of all, this seems very similar to the Russia hysteria that we have all gone through, or we went through for years. But also, you have Democrats that say that President Trump is undermining, he's undermining norms and institutions, but they were the ones who called for the abolishing of the Electoral College. They are the ones who called for faithless electors, and they're the ones that used the DOJ and the FBI to spy on a political opponent.
Right, and they were the ones that call for defunding police, and they're the ones that instigate all of this anger inside the communities that they should be caring for and nurturing. Look, the bigger problems we've seen have been in communities actually run by Democratic politicians. Chicago, we see it in Portland, Oregon. We see it in Seattle. We've seen it in New York City. We've even seen it here in Washington, D.C. And the only people that are paying the price for this are the American people. And you brought up a really great point there, Lisa, because when you talk about weaponization, I thought about this tonight. I thought not only did they weaponize our law enforcement, our intelligence agencies, but they're trying to weaponize the people against each other.
Right.
The president of the United States is not going to, call martial law, or he's not sending stormtroopers. He's trying to protect the citizens of this country. Maybe the Democrats should try doing that a little bit so we don't see more bloodshed and we don't lose more children. And maybe they should resolve the problems in their own home.
And Ben, real quick, 15 seconds before we got to go. Close this out.
The president is the one standing up for the Constitution. The Democrats are the ones trying to shred it. He can't even overturn an unlawful Obama administration executive order, and he's being called a tyrant.
All right.
It's laughable.
All right, Ben, Sara, thank you.